This episode is brought to you by 180 Markets, where it is our goal to bring every individual, fund manager, family office, or any qualified investor access to Australian Stock Exchange capital raises. If you are ever interested in how to access ASX capital raises in a super simple way, 180 Markets is for you. The sign-up process is easy. You just upload your ID, proof of your investor status, and your current brokerage account information. The settlement of shares goes right into your existing account, and you can access our very next capital raise. If you're interested in free, easy access to thousands of ASX capital raises, including placements, IPOs, reverse takeovers, and more, check out 180markets.com.au. Hello, everybody. Welcome yet again, another edition of 18 Minutes with 180 Markets. Friends, we always talk about thematic investing. And one of the biggest themes going on right now for 2021, and I certainly hope for the rest of the decade and beyond, is socially responsible investing. That's right. There's nothing wrong with making a profit and doing good at the same time. And with us today, we have a company that is doing just that through making food more available to a wider range of underserved people. That's right. We have Kore Potash and its managing director, Brad Sampson. He's going to talk all about his company, his projects, what makes them so interesting, and some very big recent news. And with that introduction, Brad, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Greg. It's great to be here with you.
Hey, Brad, everybody's got a story. Can you just spend a couple minutes telling people a little bit about your background?
Yeah, sure. Greg, I'm obviously Australian. You'll tell that straight away by my accent. I trained as a mining engineer, and I've spent my whole career working in the mining industry, in various aspects of the mining industry. So started off pretty typical career path, technical roles early on, into management roles. In my early 30s, I was running one of the largest gold mines in the world at Kloof in South Africa. That was pretty interesting. That was 3 shaft systems and a workforce of over 10,000 people. And progressed through operational leadership roles, then into chief executive officer roles. And in the last part of my career, led a number of turnarounds and participated in a number of very large turnarounds, including one of an $18 billion gold company. So a lot to offer here, Greg.
Absolutely. And maybe that's a good segue also into, your African experience, because if you could talk a little bit about, the potash market and how Kore fits in, but maybe start out with potash. What is it exactly? What makes it so important? And then also, why is Africa such a great place for potash?
Potash is really important for mankind. Potash is the source of potassium. So one of the key, the 3 key agri-nutrients that we need to grow food, whether it's pastures to feed animals or whether it's fruit and vegetables to feed ourselves. Potassium, we need nitrogen, and we need phosphorus. So NPK, and potash provides the K. So it's a critical nutrient for agriculture. And it's quite interesting because the industry is dominated by companies in the Northern Hemisphere. Almost all of the potash in the world is produced in the Northern Hemisphere, and in quite mature markets. So you've got North America, you've got Russia and Europe, and then some in China. And the African continent is quite interesting because it has enormous mineral resources that are undeveloped, has potash, has phosphates, and has nitrogen from the oil and gas industry. And it is a very, very logical place to be developing fertilizer industries, and particularly potash. And it's a part of the world that currently doesn't use a lot of fertilizer, but the population is growing dramatically. And maybe we can come back to that later on in the conversation about the drivers for demand growth on potash.
Absolutely. And so, we have an understanding now of why it's so important. And maybe now talk a little bit more, if we can drill deeper into Kore. Can you just tell us about where your projects are located and the current state of them?
Sure. We're in the Republic of Congo. So this is Congo Brazzaville, a former French colony that sits right on the coastline in the middle of West Africa. It has a population of approximately 5 million people. And it's a country that even when you Google the Congo, you probably won't find much news flow about the Congo, because there's a very large country right next door called the Democratic Republic of Congo that generates most of the news flow from that area. And that country has some 85 million people and is regularly in the press. So Congo is a quiet country, former French colony, has an economy that's heavily dependent on revenue from oil. So they produce oil, and a number of international petroleum companies there producing oil. And our projects are located very close to the coast, so less than 30 kilometres from the coast, approximately 65 kilometres north of a large city called Pointe Noire. And Pointe Noire has an international airport and is a very important harbour on the west coast of Africa. So our project, there's a road that runs all the way to our project sites. You can actually fly into Pointe Noire in a nice jet, get out, jump in a local taxi and drive to our project site. So this is not a remote location.
That's amazing. So you actually have very good infrastructure around there. And can you just then talk about a little bit about your two projects, where and what is the current state of them, and also one of the big attractions to us was just the enormous upside potential here. When you look at net present values compared to your market cap, there really is just a crazily large gap. But we can get into it a little bit later. But if you just give people an overview of the projects.
Absolutely. We have two key projects that we're focused on. One is called Kola and the other is DX. DX is short for Dugu Extension because it sits on its own mining license called Dugu. So both projects sit on approved licenses. So these are not exploration tenements, these are approved mining licenses. We have approved environmental permits in place for both mining licenses. And we have a mining convention in place with the government of the Congo that provides it's a contract between Kore and the government of the Congo that maps out taxation, employment relationships, all of the relationship between the government and us, and it has the force of international law. So it can't be unilaterally changed by one party. So our projects, we have two. Kola, which is the largest project, is designed as a large underground potash mine, producing 2.2 million tonnes per annum of MOP, muriate of potash or potassium chloride, and that's the most common form of potash. That project was designed by a French consortium of engineering companies. We completed that work and released results to shareholders in early 2019, and has a large capital cost. So the current capital cost for that project is just over $2 billion US. Right? Now that's a large number. And you asked, why is there a disconnect between the value of the projects and our market cap? And that's part of the reason, is it takes time to finance a $2 billion greenfield project in any jurisdiction. Takes some time to put that together. So while we've been working on the financing solution for Kola, we've also been working on the development of a new project called DX. DX is exciting for a different reason. It's smaller, still has a nice life. The life of that project is more than 20 years, the initial life, and it's designed as a solution mine. And this is a type of mining for potash where you pump hot, salty water underground. We don't use chemicals. We use some seawater, we use some fresh water. We pump hot, salty water underground, dissolve the potash, pump it back up to surface, and produce the potash. So it is a completely different technology from Kola. It uses very standard potash industry technologies, and is a very cheap way to produce potash. Now that project, I should say, Greg, is in the middle of a definitive feasibility study right now. So we completed all the previous phases of feasibility work, and in the second half of last year, we commenced work on a definitive feasibility study for the DX project.
Right, and so for the DFS, which is obviously the big catalyst, I guess the big upcoming catalyst, if you will, would you expect to have that sometime in calendar 21?
In last year, in 2020, we committed to commencing the first phase of work on the definitive feasibility study, and we're expecting to complete that work absolutely in May of this year. And then I look forward to being able to report some results of that to our shareholders. Now, I'm hoping you're going to ask me a question in a minute, Greg, about the Kola. That'll take me back to the Kola project in our recent news, and that may have impact on what we do next with the DX project and how quickly we move into the second phase.
Absolutely. That's a great lead in because obviously there has been some very exciting news from the company, in extremely recent times here. Can you maybe just, share that with the audience that maybe is not following it so carefully?
Yeah, absolutely. In 2019, we commenced discussions with multiple groups on the financing of cola. And you might remember I spoke earlier that it currently has a capital cost of more than $2 billion US. We've always believed that there's significant opportunity to reduce that capital cost. And to reduce that capital cost takes some more work that we call optimization, uh, optimization of the capital design, and commenced discussions with interested groups in 2019. And last Thursday, just before Easter, we were able, very late in the day, we were able to sign a memorandum of understanding with a group called the Summit Consortium in the Minister of Mines office in Brazzaville in the Congo. So we have the support of the government, and the Summit Consortium proposing to complete the optimization work on cola with a targeted capital cost of $1.65 billion, and to then provide us a financing proposal that will be a mixture of debt and royalty financing for that project. That's really exciting because that means we'll be able to present a complete financing solution for cola, and in conjunction with that, we'll receive an EPC proposal from the very capable engineering companies who are undertaking the optimization study.
Absolutely. And so I guess that, the timing couldn't be better for this discussion. And obviously, we're also going to commence with a capital raising as well on the back of this, which is, frankly, what's interested, 180 Markets so much. This really is essentially a year and a half's worth of work that is really coming to fruition right now. Isn't that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're really excited about it. We knew that being able to progress discussions on the financing of cola to a meaningful point would take time. And we're really excited that we've hit this key milestone. And yes, we've signed a memorandum of understanding, and you're quite right. There's 18 months of solid work between us, the financing parties, and the engineering companies who are going to do the work to get us to this point. So all of us are really excited, and the work's already commenced.
Absolutely. And maybe can you just share with us, on the operational side then, because, now getting that financing package, it can't be, I guess, overstressed how important that is. But obviously now it also becomes a question of what would be the critical path you'd like to see over the next 12 months operationally?
Sure. Look, the memorandum of understanding that we've signed provides for Summit and their engineering partners, SEPCO and ENFI, who are two very large engineering companies with specific potash industry and mining industry expertise. So the MOU provides for them to complete an optimization study over the next 9 months, and work has already started on that. So that's the first and almost the most important part of the work, because reducing the capital cost of that reduces the amount we have to finance, and that's value adding to our shareholders, it's value adding to the government, it's value adding to all of the stakeholders. So we'll get that done first. That's roughly 9-month period, and then immediately following that, we will be presented with a royalty and debt financing proposal. So they're really the key milestones that we'll work through over the next 12 months.
Okay, and then also the actual construction. Do you have preliminary thoughts about, the timing and how it would look, and also, I guess, I know it's always hard to predict production schedules, but maybe when would be the first production timeline?
That will be one of the outcomes from this optimization study. What we're expecting is that for this project, the construction timeframe is going to be around about 40 months. Right. So this is not a 1 or 2 year build. It's going to take longer than that. And that's just a reality because of the scale of this project. We're sinking two shafts underground to 270 meters deep, and then building a 2.2 million ton per annum potash plant and some infrastructure associated with that as well. So roughly 40-month construction period, Greg.
Yeah, but to us, that's what's attractive is just the huge upside here. You're not trying to build a 50 or $100 million company. No, I mean, you're going a big game hunting, so to speak, if you will. It's really, I know that so many people love to talk about their billion-dollar companies, but in your case, it really is a question of execution. Is that how you see it as well?
That's right. Completing this financing and then getting on with the build of this project is what it's all about. And the Kore project, from the DFS, the definitive feasibility study, the Kore project's forecast to generate more than $500 million a year of free cash. And the beauty of this financing solution that Summit have proposed is that we would finance the construction without Kore shareholders having to contribute further to the construction cost of the project. Yes, Kore shareholders have to fund some working capital. They have to, we have to keep the company going through that period until we're generating cash, but we won't have to contribute cash to the construction of Kore when we're able to successfully close this financing. And we'll own 90% of a project that is designed to deliver cash of some $500 million a year for a 30-year period. The other 10% is the government. That's the stake that they get for giving us access to the land.
Yeah, and when you think about it, again, $500 million per annum of cash flow that, frankly goes for years and years. That is, truly exceptional, especially in a low interest rate environment, for sure. Any type of DCF, certainly would entail that. So, I mean, it truly is, incredibly exciting. And then in the meantime, do you have any thoughts that you can share about the DX project and the impact?
Yes, it's a good question. I'm not 100% sure yet, Greg.
Right. It's a great option to have.
That was the whole purpose of DX, is that we knew it would take time to develop Kore. DX was sitting there as a deposit that we didn't have a plan for yet. And that's why we've been progressing the definitive feasibility study on that project. It has a much more modest capital cost. The capital cost for that project is currently $285 million. So over coming weeks, we will be reviewing our allocation of resources, and we'll be looking to complete that first phase of work on the DX definitive feasibility study. And then we'll make some decisions about what we do next with the DX project, whether we slow it down, whether we accelerate it, or whether we just park it for a little while we work through this next phase with Kore.
Yeah, and absolutely. And as I said, that for us at 180, Kore is certainly the big kahuna, the big game hunting that we look for. The timing couldn't be better. We are thrilled to be incoming investors and help you with what we view as the very short-term cash and equity participation into $500 million of cash flow. Brett, do you have any closing words for the audience? We just like to keep these interviews short and sharp.
It's great to meet your audience, Greg. And in my time in the company, we've actually not marketed the story in Australia. And I'm really excited to be reaching out to Australian investment community with this story. We don't produce any potash in Australia at the moment, certainly no MOP. And this is a pretty exciting industry that and this project, the Kore project, absolutely deserves to be built. I'm really excited about it, and it's the reason I joined Kore Potash.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I do have one more closing comment. Going along with my opening comment about helping being a socially responsible person in this decades to come. Do you also just feel good about what you're doing that goes beyond the money to helping people?
Yes, I do. I think this is. Potash is a commodity, is something that the world needs. We're going to keep feeding the growing population of the world, even for the current population. The amount of arable land available is in decline. We need to be adding fertilizer to improve yields. The African continent really underapplies fertilizer. There's a massive opportunity to improve the lot for the farmers in Africa. And within the Congo, we're good corporate citizens. We're really proud of what we do in the Congo with the projects we currently have with the community around us. We're not displacing people from their homes or their farmlands in the Congo. Our projects are in an area that's actually ideal for a mining project. It's in this economic buffer zone in between farmlands and a national park. There are some villages there. We work with those village communities, and they're really excited about this development. And we look forward to having continued employment of a lot of Congolese people in our business. Right now, our workforce within the Congo is 100% Congolese.
Absolutely. Brad, definitely stay in touch. We couldn't be more excited. As I said, we really look forward to the journey with you and to, and just this huge potential upside. And congratulations on this recent news.
Thanks, Greg. Thank you for the opportunity.
Bye-bye. Thank you for watching another presentation by 180 Markets. Don't forget, If you want access to thousands of ASX capital raises, head on over to 180markets.com.au, sign up, and get on board for our very next capital raise. Thanks for watching.